जाजाली भी जुक्तिरपेक्षणीया जाजाली भी जुक्तिरपेक्षणीया तत्राक्षादति बलवशं वन्दे गुरश्री चरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरश्री चरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरश्री चरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरश्री चरणरविन्दं संसारनामान घनाघनतं तत्तच्चकल्लन गुणान्नभश वन्दे गुरश्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरश्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरश्रीचरणरविन्दं साक्षादरीतेन समस्तशास्त्रैः युक्तस्तथा भावत एव सद्भिः Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
One to the Sunday morning here in Eastern Canada. It's 10 a.m. and I see that our friend Shiv Narayan, he's 11 p.m. in Japan. And he mentions this is his favorite time of the day or during the week to be a part of the Sadhu Sangha, the association of spiritually minded people who are bona fide disciples, Vijaya Pandit, of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. It's very hard to meet bona fide devotees. Yes, it is. It's very difficult. Because I call it the International Society of Opinionators. How many opinions are there? Mataji, Amber, and Andy. How many opinions are there? Just like the aromas carried by the wind, there are opinions, and they're unlimited. Everyone has an opinion. But is everyone right? No. But they're entitled to their opinion. Yes, and I'm noticing it from our experience with many people. not a whole lot, because consider this, Dharma Bhavana. How many living entities there are on this planet alone? Forget about humans. I'm talking about living entities. It's unlimited. Yes, we are fragmental parts and parcels of Krishna. And that's the truth. Nityo Nityananam Chaitanas Chaitananam. We are the eternal parts. And can we understand it? Very difficult. But it is possible if you have good association. You can become uncovered from the layers of confusion that exist in the material cosmic manifestation. Very rare. And to have the association of a bona fide spiritual master in his Vani incarnation is the greatest blessing that we can have. I'm just reading the pastime before the class of Aghasura demon. I'm moving forward into the Krishna book. Tried to read one chapter in the morning before the class just to get my perspectives properly aligned on what we are or what we're doing, and hearing about Krishna. It's amazing how Prabhupada, our spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, created these literatures. They're not ordinary literatures, and there's a very deep meaning in them, but it's hard to uncover it unless you stick to his instructions without any change. It's very hard to understand this because of the transcendental nature of what he is presenting to us, and the rareness of it is very rare that we get a chance to hear from the bona fide spiritual master. And we stress that. Why? Because there is a difference between bogus and bona fide. The bona fide spiritual master is a direct connection to the transcendental world for the disciple. And the bogus spiritual so-called leader can doom his followers because of his bad behavior. Very, very bad behavior. And unfortunately, think about it, everyone, how many opinions there are. We're in the world of opinions. Let us not get distracted by the opinionators, the International Society of Opinionators. I think it's like people have opinion. Oh, I think Prabhupada meant this. I think Prabhupada meant that. And they're all based on their own personal motivation to interpret the philosophy to justify who they are. Some manipulation of truth. We call it the misinformation campaign, and it's prolific, especially in the ISKCON group. Oh, yeah. And our recommendation is avoid these people. You'll get contaminated by them, possibly, because of how they speak. It is very offensive to think that Prabhupada doesn't live in sound. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely mundane to think that the spiritual master, when he departs from this physical plane, he leaves us and he can't return. No, that's absolutely wrong. Prabhupada is existing in sound. It's a transcendental. And when you read the books, like the Krishna book, is fantastic, by the way. When you read this, you get such deep understanding. If you are connected to Śrīla Prabhupāda in his Vani instructions and in his words, the words of the spiritual master, of the bona fide spiritual master, lift you out of this world of bile, pus, stool, urine, this material body of odor, these miseries that exist within it, lifts us out. And you become liberated. Yes, we're in a prison house, Dharma Bhavana, of the city of 9 gates. 2 eyes, 2 nose, nostrils, 2 ears, the mouth, the tongue, that's it. The anus and the genital. It's a city, a compound, and you're stuck here. The spirit soul, the person that is the field. This is the field of activity for the individual. But we think, oh, I'm American, I'm a Canadian, I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm very beautiful. It's unfortunate how confused everyone is. So Krishna consciousness is an opportunity, a very rare. Now remember this, Dharma Bhavana. It don't minimize. It is a rare opportunity to get association with a bona fide spiritual master and bona fide disciples. Now someone could say, well, that's your opinion. Okay, that's true. That may be an opinion, but you have to determine it. You have to test it. Like pudding. You cannot know the taste of pudding unless you test it. So you cannot know the value of this opportunity that we've created, our group, yes we have, to share transcendental knowledge without adulteration, without motivation, without an ambition for profit, adoration, and distinction. How can you say that? Well, judge it for yourself. If you don't like it, then that's your opinion. You're entitled to that. Then go find somebody that you think will help you, like Radhanath. Go to Radhanath or Naranjana. Nowadays, this one Prabhu of mine, our godbrother, I like him. He's quite a nice person. I had a chance to associate with him in Lithuania some years ago. I went there on a festival and he was there, he was speaking. Nowadays, he's with Bhaktivedanta in Vrindavan, India, and he can't associate with people. He's so mentally stressed by his life, his circumstances, that even though he's got thousands of disciples, he can't talk to anybody because he's too stressed out. Oh, okay. Maybe you should take some medicine. How about the holy name? How about representing Prabhupada as the bona fide spiritual master instead of him? That's the distress. So some thoughts this morning. You know, I always have something to say, I guess. We're thinking about this all the time. It's our meditation. And not only that, okay, we're more progressively thinking about all the service that we're engaging in. I had a good talk with our friend Arjuna in Pennsylvania yesterday, and he's an expert in book distribution. He worked for Karmis before he became a devotee. He's been a devotee for a long time. I didn't realize that. Kind of floating in the material world, looking for shelter, and then finally found this association. It's a jewel. It's a mine of jewels. And with all these wonderful devotees that are assembled with us, this is a great thing and a great opportunity. And we're not going to miss this opportunity in the human form of life. No, because it's very rare. And you should be very appreciative in your own heart that somehow or other you've landed here, right, Krishna Kata? Is he here? Where's his books? There he is. And he loves this group. I know it. He loves it. We have a lot of people, Shiv Narayan, I know he's spoken to us. He just really appreciates the whole thing. And look at Vijay Pandit, he doesn't miss. He comes and he was just with Yaśodā and Twain Hart. And how much do you like this? Tell me. It's the best. He doesn't have to speak. I already know his mind and his heart. He loves it. And all of you, thank you very, very much. Forest Temple, I see that you come early to every class. It's just beautiful. I love it. Just to see you here, that's all that matters to me. That you come, and we're going to all try to have a good experience. And today we're going to experience some more information from the diaries. Oh yeah. Here, look at this. I got these from Gargamuni and Brahmananda, these books. I have a pair. Yeah, I'm very appreciative. And who would have thought we would end up using them in these programs after like 25 years? But it's become a very valuable asset for us to understand the great work that Śrīla Prabhupada performed in his early years according to his words in his diaries. Authentic? Yes, very authentic. And this is what people have to have, is information, so they can understand why they want to surrender to the Sankirtan mission that Prabhupada began and propagated when he came to America. Why? It's not that you do actions without knowledge. You have to know why. We have to read and study and enjoy this opportunity, these few short years, Mother Rochisha, Devi Dasi, that we have together. Short years. Don't take this for granted. We're going to read from these. We're at the end, by the way, of this volume. We're just at the last two documents. And this is a memo that Prabhupada put together for the members that were coming to see him back then. And you could bring it up on the screen. It says he's got letterhead. Think about that. He created letterhead, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Inc., 26 2nd Avenue, New York. And look at these details. He's got a telephone number. Now, someone could say, well, what's that mean? Well, that means a lot. He came from a place where he was living in a room with no bathroom, no kitchen, no place to clean himself, where he was robbed. And then all of a sudden he's evolved in July of 1966. He's got a location, an apartment. He was paying $75 or $70 a month for that. And he rented this storefront. And then he's putting up a letterhead. And then Prabhupada is now doing these memos and organizing himself with the letterhead. So look what he wrote. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness actively practices these principles. 1, spreading and propagating individual and universal love throughout the world through the practice of bhakti yoga. It's a peace formula. 2, developing bliss in the individual through the rituals and practice of Hinduism under the guidance of a spiritual master guru. 3, we're not Hindus, as you know. I'm not sure the context of how this was written, but nonetheless, we get the idea. We're not Hindus, we're Vaishnavas. 3, instilling the science of God, spiritual knowledge through the careful, directed study of ancient scriptures. That's what we do. 4, singing and playing Indian music, instrumentals, instruments provided, he goes, dancing, serving prasadam, spiritual food, and hearing the word of this Krishna through our Acharya and spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. This leads me to believe that someone else wrote this. Yaśodā, you might have more. Through our Acharya, so the person's writing it and saying through our Acharya. This could be Howard Wheeler for all we know. But the principles are good, and Prabhupada authorized it, of course. Constructing the first Hindu temple in America. Prabhupada had been striving for that. All these principles are fully embraced by our members. One may become a tentative member, interesting, tentative member, merely by pledging to attend a meeting at our temple on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday evenings at 7 p.m. So 3 classes a week. Just like we ask everyone, if you're interested in becoming initiated as a Prabhupada disciple, then you are required to attend 3 classes a week with us and to hear the philosophy and clear the doubts in your mind of why you're here in this human form of life, because there are lots of doubts. Mailing in the detached form below you will both constitute your pledge to attend and install you as a tentative member by putting you on our mailing list. Yeah, so it appears that somebody's come up with this idea. Okay. Our address is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, 26 2nd Avenue, between 1st and 2nd Streets. Someone from New York, obviously. New York, blah, blah, blah. I hereby a pledge, and they're asking people, oh, you've got to sign this. Because people are frivolous, they come and go. It's just the way of the life. To attend a meeting on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings, thus becoming a tentative member of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and having my name added to the mailing list. Oh, interesting, eh? How Prabhupada was working with people. He was engaging people, Dharma Bhavana, trying to get them to become involved in devotional service. Do you have a time, Prabhu? No. I was going to have us read the Oath of Allegiance. We have an Oath of Allegiance. Do you have it in front of you, Rupa Goswami in Bombay? The Oath of Allegiance to the PDA, Hare Krishna Society. Let's take a look. Let's see. Okay, this is not really the way I wanted to see it, but the logos are there anyway. I want it to be graphically designed, but at any rate, can you make it closer so we can read it, perhaps? I can't see anything. No, slide it up. Not that. That's just names. Not that. No. I hereby, the above solemnly affirm, declare, and state as follows. I understand with my clear mind my commitment and unadulterated loyalty to the below listed tenets of this oath of allegiance. I am a follower and devotee of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his bona fide representative, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. I am an official member of the Hare Krishna Society and the Prabhupada Disciples Association, excuse me, dedicated to preserving the eternal, unadulterated legacy of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. Do you like this, Dharma Bhavana? You're dedicated for life? Go ahead. Slide down. Slide down. I place all my faith, integrity, and honesty in His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, personally living in his Vani incarnation and guiding the mission of the Hare Krishna Society and the Prabhupada Disciples Association. I understand that firmly believe His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami is guiding the Hare Krishna Society through his teachings and instructions found in the unadulterated books, letters, and lectures, and other unadulterated written materials which we are thoroughly studying. Okay, Tom in Germany, you get it? You going to swear the oath or what? I will sincerely try to follow. Now we're qualifying. We're saying, look, sometimes you can't do it, but you're going to try to follow the 4 regulative principles and the chanting of 16 rounds daily to the best of my ability. I promise to follow the directions given to me in the unadulterated books of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami and make an effort to read them every day of my life. I shall faithfully obey all instructions and directions given to me in these spiritual matters, which shall be binding on me. You're committing, just like some people commit to oaths from scriptures that were written 2,000 years ago, and have probably been changed, but nonetheless they think, oh yeah, I must commit to that. I further pledge that His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda is my eternal spiritual master and the only source of authority, inspiration, and guidance for me in my spiritual life, represented by his unadulterated instructions and books. And I will follow these with my fellow members in a spirit of love and cooperation to the best of my ability. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. Think about this. And if you want to get more information, if you decide that you're going to do the pledge, we're going to design it more. It's not designed right now as a certificate. You can print it out and put it in your office or in your house, and you sign it, and then you can look at it every day and know this is my mission, to follow this program of commitment, not just talk. Talk is cheap. Commitment and personal representation of the philosophy in your own behavior to the mission of PDA and the Hare Krishna Society. Hare Krishna. All glories to Prabhupada. We're going to move forward with the rest of our program and the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava, and then our reading and discussion headed up by, from 1967, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu met Śrīla Prabhupāda at Expo 67 in Montreal. Think about it. And he's here with us. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. 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 Samad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavindra ki jai, Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. From Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskrityam Narayanam namaskrityam Naram cheva narottamam Naram cheva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayam mudirayet Tato jayam mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead, Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supremmost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Śrīla Vyāsadeva, the author, from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading of discussion on the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This program is being conducted on the basis of the original 1962 New Delhi edition. And as we do every week, we will be reading a few selected verses from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam itself, from the first canto, second chapter, which explains the meaning and the benefit of hearing this powerful transcendental literature. Yadanudyasina yuktaha karma granti nibandanam chindanti kovidastasya kona kuryat kataratim. Intelligent persons do cut off the internet of the knot of reactionary work by remembrance of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not give attention to his message? Shushrushoho Shradadhanasya Vasudeva Kataruchihi Syanmahatsevaya Vipra Punyatirtanishevanat. O the twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all ranges of vice, a standard of great service is done, and as the result of such great service, affinity in the message of Vasudeva is made possible. Shanvatam svakata Krishnaham punyasravana kirtanaham hridyantastoya badrani vidunoti suritatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge for hearing his, Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashtaprayeshu babadreshu nityam bhagavata sevayam bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, comes into being an irrevocable fact. Tadarajastamo bhava kama lobha dayaschaye chetaye terana viddam stitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is fixed up in one's heart, at that time the effects of the nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and anchorings, etc., do disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed up in the mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tata vijnanam mukta sangasya jayati. Thus, when one is positively fixed up in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the enlivened-minded man affected by contact of devotional service of the Lord can positively know scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Vidyate hridaya grantis chidyante sarva samshaya shiyante sasya karmani drishta evatmanishwari. The knot of one's heart is thus pierced, and all misgivings are cut into pieces. The chain of fruitive actions are terminated, along with the seeing of oneself, the dominating factor. We will proceed our reading of the verse today. We are reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 6, text number 34. Etad datur chittanam matra sparshayit chayam muhu bhavasidhu plavadrishto haricharya anuvarnanam. Etad, this, he certainly, atura chittanam, chit, of those whose mind is always full with cares and anxieties. Matra, objects of sense enjoyment. Sparsha, senses. Ichaya, by desires. Muhu, always. Bhavasindhu, the ocean of nescience. Plava, boat. Drishto, experience. Haricharya, the activities of Hari, the personality of Godhead. Anuvarnanam, constant recitation. Translation. It is personally experienced by Sri Nārada Muni that for persons who are always full with cares and anxieties on account of desiring contact of the senses with sense objects, constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead, Hari, is just a suitable boat for crossing the ocean of nescience. Purport by His Divine Grace, Śrīla Prabhupāda. The symptom of a living being is that he cannot remain silent even for some time. He must be doing something, thinking of something, or talking about something. Generally, the materialistic man do work, do think, and do discuss on subjects which satisfy their senses. But as these things are exercised under the influence of the external illusory energy, such activities of sense satisfaction do not actually give them any sort of satisfaction, but on the contrary, they become full with cares and anxieties. This is called Maya, or what is not. The thing which cannot give them is satisfaction, is accepted as a thing for satisfaction. So Nārada Muni, by his personal experience, desires to express it, that satisfaction for such frustrated beings engaged in sense satisfaction is to chant always the activities of the Lord. The point is that the subject matter only shall be changed. Nobody can check the thinking activities of a living being. Similarly, the feeling and willing or practically working process. But if they want actual happiness, they must change the subject matter only. Instead of talking in politics of a dying man, one may discuss the politics administered by the Lord himself. Instead of relishing activities of the cinema artist, one may turn the attention to the activities of the Lord with his eternal associates like the gopis or Lakshmi. The Almighty Personality of Godhead, by his causeless mercy, descends on the earth and manifests activities almost on the lines of the worldly men, but at the same time, extraordinarily, because he is almighty, he does so for the benefit of all conditioned souls, so that he can turn their attention on transcendence. By doing so, the conditioned soul will gradually be promoted to the transcendental position and cross easily the ocean of nescience, the source of all miseries. This is stated by personal experience of an authority like Sri Nārada Muni, and we can have the same experience also if we begin to follow the footprints of the great sage, dearmost devotee of the Lord. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sarkara Yuktam Kadate Visheshatah Adadana Danteridam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimadrupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavato Smyaham Tadadasu Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pekshako Nityam Tat Preshta Satkaromismam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We do know from reading Bhagavad Gita that Krishna himself recommends in many places in the Bhagavad Gita itself to chant and hear the glorious activities of his pastime, his incarnations, his name, qualities, forms, etc. This is described very nicely by the Lord himself. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha drida vrata. That great souls who are transcendentalists are always engaged, satatam, engaged in chanting the activities of Krishna. We see by studying the activities and the lives of great liberated souls, great sages, great devotees and acharyas, that they're constantly engaged in that path. Here in this particular verse, the actual verse itself is very nice. It is described, it is personally experienced by Sri Nārada Muni that for persons who are always full with cares and anxieties on account of desiring contact of the senses with sense objects, constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead, Hari, is just a suitable boat for crossing the ocean of nescience. There's a very interesting purport in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in the 4th canto, where Prabhupada explains the meaning and purpose of his transcendental movement, of his society, is to give everybody a chance to hear about Krishna in association with the spiritual master, an opportunity to associate with the spiritual master. Which spiritual master was he referring to? Well, he was being very humble about it, but it was him. Very unique way of presenting it. He was not bragging. He was not boasting. He was humbly explaining that the purpose of the society is to associate and hear from the spiritual master, namely him. I mean, if you study Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, if you want to understand Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there's two important points. One very important point is given in the introduction to the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the dedication, which Śrīla Prabhupāda explains. He lives forever by his divine instructions, and the followers lives with him. How difficult is that to understand? For simple devotees, for non-motivated devotees, it's easy to understand. It's not complicated. Many times as part of this program, we've discussed some of the obstacles for spiritual advancement which have been described and enumerated by Śrīla Prabhupada. Now, the Bhagavatam itself in the 2nd verse, Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam Shukamukha damrita drava samyutam Pibata Bhagavatam amritam amayam. It is described that this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, niramo nirmatsaranam param, that this Bhagavatam can only be understood by those who are non-envious, non-jealous. This jealousy is a very prominent feature of living beings in the material world. Dharma text, Canto 1, Chapter 1, text number 2. Dharma prajita koetavo atra paramo nirmatsaranam satam. And Prabhupada explained these 100% pure-hearted devotees. And many times Śrīla Prabhupada has explained while giving lectures, while giving explanation, that this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam can only be understood by those who are non-envious. Because in the material world, every living being is envious of another. Not just the cats and dogs, but human beings. They see such somebody as better qualified than them, or has more possessions than them. They become envious. They become resentful. But in the path of spiritual life, this has to be discarded. It has to be eliminated, especially for those who are serious about progressing on the path of bhakti. It is incompatible to try to make spiritual advancement and to become envious of another devotee is incompatible. That's why one should be very careful not to falsely criticize other devotees. This is very important. But some people must say, but Prabhupada himself criticized many people. That is the position of the Acharya. One who acts as a powered Acharya, someone like Śrīla Prabhupada, he had to present Krishna consciousness and eliminate and expose false ideas, false ideologies, misunderstandings, misrepresentations, all kinds of false, nonsensical ideas. You have to present the truth. And part of presenting the truth is to expose those who profess and teach untruth, falsehoods. That is why sometimes devotees will say, oh, you people are criticizing. No. You have to understand the difference between fact-finding and fault-finding. Irresponsible, envious fault-finding is not good. It's not acceptable. A devotee has to use his intelligence to learn to discriminate between what is bona fide and what is not bona fide, what is authorized and what is not authorized. That is why here we see that Nārada Muni is recommending this constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. In Hawaii, at the local temple on Coelho Way, Śrīla Prabhupada one time, because the room of Śrīla Prabhupada was on the second floor, and there was a large balcony beyond his room. So one time, he was walking in the room and he saw a young brahmachari talking to a young lady. So Śrīla Prabhupada called Guru Kripa Swami and said, "Come over here. Look what is going on here. If this is going on, they're going to end up in the bushes and doing some nonsense. This has to stop." So every morning after the Prasadam program, 9 o'clock, there should be a class, a reading. You read 40 minutes, Bhagavatam. Stop for 10, 15 minutes. Then another 45 minutes, Bhagavad Gita reading. 10, 15 minutes, stop. Then teachings of Lord Chaitanya, 45 minutes. Take Prasadam. Afternoon, another 45 minutes, nectar of devotion. 15 minutes, okay. Another 45 minutes, Krishna book. The point is, Prabhupada instructed, there should be exactly this instruction, constant chanting of the transcendental activities. Is this really going on? Is this really what's going on in all the temples? We hope it is. We pray it is. We wish it is. But giving some of the conclusions that these people reach and some of their behaviors, it is doubtful that it's really taken place. And the other instruction, and this is well known to any devotee, at least any sane devotee, sober devotee, that things should be discussed from all angles of vision. Oh, really? Now, this is characteristic of spiritual persons who are engaged in Krishna consciousness. They are eager to discuss everything from all angles of vision. Let me give you an example. A few weeks ago, our good friend Vijay Pandit here from Venice, Dueville, Italy, he came and visited me. By Krishna's arrangement, he visited me to try to straighten me out. Well, that's a big task. That's a big job to do that. But the point is, as part of his visit here, every day we had several hours of constant discussion from all angles of vision. What is the meaning of the Bhagavatam? He asked me so many questions, many times very, very good questions, sometimes very difficult questions, preaching to me nicely. It is not an easy task to try to straighten me out. That is, we know that. Anybody who speaks with me and knows me a little bit will know that might be very difficult. But the point is that eagerness to discuss things from all angles of vision, this is important. One should not avoid something, even though it may be very controversial. Very controversial sometimes. Sometimes it's not an easy task. Like many devotees ask me, well, why did Krishna allow this? Why did Lord Chaitanya allow this? How come Prabhupada did this? How come Prabhupada did that? And my question is, there are many letters where Prabhupada used to say, if you have any questions, read my books and all your questions will be answered. So the question remained for all of us, everyone on this program, and everybody listening to this program, have we sufficiently read the books again and again, submissively, with a proper Vaishnava attitude to really understand these questions? There are answers. The answers are there, definitely. But are we willing to take the steps necessary to get the real answers? This is the question. For example, just like in Canada, sometimes if there's a major controversial issue or scandal, they'll form what they call a royal commission, or United States, they'll have a congressional commission or a congressional committee where they will convene some experts and ask all kinds of questions to find some answers. Now, devotees, our real commission, our royal commission, our congressional commission already took place 5,000 years ago on the bank of the Yamuna, when Maharaj Parikshit fasted for 7 days and he heard the entire Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Why is it recommended that devotees should engage in constant hearing? Because this is the real solution. I'm reading here a text from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from Canto 1, Chapter 6, text 34. This is what we are reading today. And we see there is another very nice verse in Canto 1, Chapter 15, text 28, where it is described, Evam Chintayato Jishnoho Krishna Pada Saroruham Sora Rine Datigatena Santasid Vimala Matihi. Sutta Goswami said, thus, being deeply absorbed in thinking of the instructions of the Lord, which were imparted in the great intimacy of friendship, and in thinking of his lotus feet, Arjuna's mind became pacified and free from all material contamination. Then Prabhupada in the purport explains that Lord Chaitanya has therefore recommended constant chanting of the name of the Lord for protection from all contamination of the material world. This is very important. And we also see in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam itself, there is a nice description in Canto number 2, Chapter 1, text 11. Itan nirvidyamananam ichatam makuto bayam yoginam ripanirnitam harirnamanu kirtanam. O king, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord after the ways of the great authorities is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including those who are free from all material desires, those who are desirous of all material enjoyment, and also those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge. This is very important instruction. We see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada quotes from the Kali Santarana Upanishad, which is basically the history of how the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare, how this glorious mantra came to this world. This is revealed by Lord Brahma in a conversation with Nārada Muni, of how can living entities in this age be delivered from all these problems, from all these anxieties. And Lord Brahma told him, Iti Shodashakam Nam, Shodashakam Namam, these 16 names, Kali Kalmasha Nasanam, that in days of Kali, these 16 names can purify, can destroy all the contamination, all the anxieties, all the problems. Nata paratarupe yaha. There is no higher means of self-realization. Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate, or Rupa Goswami found it. No, that's a different one. This is a good one, but we're talking a different verse. Iti Shodashakam Nam Kali Kalmasha Nasanam Nata paratarupe yaha. Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. All the Vedas are recommending this process. Very nice process. Very sweet process. Simply, we have to give it proper oral reception. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yes, proper oral reception from the legitimate source of information, the bona fide spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. Because, Mother Rochisha, everybody loves to talk. That's it. And it was mentioned today in the purport about that. Prabhupada says here that instead of talking in politics of a dying man, one may discuss the politics administered by the Lord himself. We have to change the focus from mundane to transcendental. That's the idea. And in the Nectar of Devotion instruction, it reveals that one should control the tongue as a means of advancing in Krishna consciousness and not speak frivolously useless subjects, because that's what people do. They can't help themselves. It's very interesting. They're captivated by the, let's use the word that Prabhupada gave us, the phantasmagoria of material life. It's a phantasmagoria of illusion, where we think that everything is real, but in factually, nothing is real. It's just a dream. And we perpetrate it by our own misunderstanding of the purpose of life. Can you go to Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami? Can you put that up about Prajalpa Niramagraha? But the point is this, that unless we control the tongue, then it is very difficult to control actually the senses. The senses become like raging horses. Another impediment is prajalpa, unnecessary talking. When we mix with our few friends, we immediately begin unnecessary talking, sounding just like croaking toads. If we must talk, we should talk about the Krishna Consciousness movement. Those outside of the Krishna Consciousness movement are interested in reading heaps of newspapers, magazines, and novels, solving crossword puzzles, and doing many other nonsensical things. In this fashion, people simply waste their valuable time and energy. In Western countries, old men retired from active life play cards, fish, watch television, and debate about useless socio-political schemes. All these and other frivolous activities are included in the Prajalpa category. Intelligent persons interested in Krishna consciousness should never take part in such activities. Very interesting. And I made a note while we were reading and hearing the explanation by Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu about the mind and how the mind reflects what you're thinking. So whatever you're thinking, you'll speak about. And this is generally a revelation of the state of the mind of the person. A lot of people do try to talk to me or show me things. I was with a godbrother the other day. He shows me a picture of 2 chickens on the side road when he was traveling somewhere. Here, take a look at this. I go, take a look at what? 2 chickens on a road? Are you kidding me? But he's thinking like that. Oh, look at this. Look at there's 2 chickens on the road. So people, whatever they're thinking, they're going to speak. That's what they do. And they talk. They can't stop talking. And the topics are many. I've listed some of them. Politics. Politics is something that everybody talks about. Like the latest mantra is Donald Trump. Let's talk about Donald Trump. Donald Trump did this, he signed these executive orders, he did this, he did that, and then all the people that are involved with him, they're, oh, Donald, it drives you nuts. because it's perpetrating the illusion that you're the body, that you're an American, or up here in Canada, that you're a Canadian. We're not any of these things. We're spirit souls. But is anybody mentioning that? No. Because they don't know anything. They're in the mental state of confusion, illusion, delusion. And they talk politics all the time. Some people, that's all they talk about, Vijay Pandit. That's all they talk about. Oh, Trump this and that, or blah, blah, blah. Then you have the people that are obsessed with sporting events. Michael Dillon? That's all they talk about. Oh, this university, college basketball team, football team, NFL team. Nowadays, they have these drafts in the NFL. And there's like tens of thousands of people at a draft. And people come up and they talk about, oh, well, this is this guy from this college or university somewhere in Nowheresville, and he's going to get a big contract and become rich and famous. And what do you think of that? Yeah. Complete madness. Or your favorite soccer team, or your favorite hockey team, or your favorite, like in Montreal right now, the Montreal Canadiens are in the playoffs. Big deal. And this is the first time in so many, and that's all people can think about. Oh, God, I hope they win or I hope they lose. It's an obsession. Sporting events. And then you have the entertainment industry. Hey, Mother, people are like infatuated with music. Oh, my favorite singer is Sting. Oh, okay. Or my favorite actor is Robert De Niro. This just goes on. And then, oh, did you see this movie? It was interesting. I was in Mexico recently. It was prior to Gopal's getting really sick, so he was infatuated. He was an artistic type of person. He has these pictures of John Lennon that he took. He took pictures of Prabhupada, different things. He had photographs from around his history. And so he was always talking about the past. So he wanted to, we'd sit in the evening and he wanted to tell me his stories. Oh, well, I remember when I had a bicycle and when I was 15 years old and I slipped in front of a car and I almost got myself killed. I go, when was that? Oh, that was 65 years ago. Oh, excuse me. You're remembering something that happened to you 65 years ago? But that's all he wanted to do, was talk about history or look at the Twilight Zone from the 50s. Here, let's watch a show. These are very interesting messages. We'll watch Twilight Zone. Oh, it was some kind of a story, and I'd be after about 15 minutes, I'd just be going, hey, Prabhu, I gotta go. And I'd just get up and leave. I'm not trying to be negative, but that's the fact. Prajalpa, entertainment, people infatuated with old movies. What the heck? And then how about this one? Personal struggles. You ever sit down and listen to people and they tell their life story? Well, this happened and I got divorced, and then after that I lost my money, and then I got sick. And they go on in detail, Dharma Bhavana, and they talk about their life of illusion. I, me, and mine. I lived this way. I'm still living that way. And they're lost in this Prajalpa world. And then how about this one? Financial pursuits. How many people do? I have some people, I speak to them every day, and all they talk to me about is how they're going to manipulate circumstances within their life to get some money. That's what they're about. Everything is about the money. And it's all useless conversation that what? It builds the house of illusion. That's what you live in. And when you speak, you demonstrate it by your thoughts and your words, that you're in an illusion. You're not this body. You're not the mind. You're not the intelligence, and especially the false ego, which everybody is victim to. It's a long history of illusion. And it doesn't just go away automatically. You have to take the antidote, the cure of being in this, let's use the term, if I could, comatose condition. You're in an unconscious state of life. You're dreaming something that's not real, and you're trying to tell me about it, and I've got to listen, and you're driving me nuts. How about shut up? Oh, you can't do that. Oh, you can't tell her to shut up. But in my mind's like, okay, shut up, will you? Actually, Yasoda caught me at the grocery store yesterday, and I told some guy who was bossing me around, I said, hey, shut up. But I could say it out in the grocery store, but it, because the guy just disappeared on me. So this movement of the tongue, flapping of the tongue, the business of the tongue is to taste and to speak. And unless we can control this sense, we're going to be a victim to the illusions of life. It's very important. We have to learn how to offer our food properly. It's interesting, my godbrother is here. And he says, Abhimanyu, he says to me, oh, I went to the temple in San Diego, and or Sacramento, I have got really good prasadam. I said, oh, really? I said, it isn't prasadam. What do you mean it isn't? It was really good. It tasted really good. Who did they offer it to? Oh, they offered it to Krishna. Mistake. You don't offer the food to Krishna directly. You offer it through the spiritual master. I said, who is the spiritual master that they offered the food to, Michael? Oh, I don't know. There's 25 of them on the altar. The guy just took one of the pictures and put it up. I go, that's not prasadam. There's a system for this. So eating prasadam, chanting the holy name, and discussing the topics of Krishna. Very interesting, by the way. I can't wait to see some people today. I'm going to talk about the Aghasura demon. What a fantastic story. Deep analogy, deep understanding of our philosophy in a storybook form from the Bhagavatam. Just Prabhupada's writings are spectacular. You want to read about the Bible? Is that what you want to do? What are you going to read? That some guy got crucified? He got nailed to the cross and it was just the greatest thing that ever happened to mankind? Okay, that's one particular way to look at teaching morality or learning about philosophy of spiritual life. But there are far greater tools given by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami in the Shastras that can reveal to us the mysteries of the universe. Yes. Spend your time studying the 5th canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Don't waste your time on the Bible. Why bother? If you want to be in kindergarten, go there. That's all right. But this is the postgraduate study of spirituality. It is. Now, someone could say, how can you say that? Well, because we've read it. When you read something, you can explain what it's about. If you don't read it, you don't know what it is. And then all you can do is speculate. Or you can talk. All these frivolous things. And this is based on false identification of the self or the false ego of I, me, and mine. It's all about me. It's all about mine. And it's all about my temporary life of 60 or 70 or 80 years. You are suffering from the comatose condition of false ego, misidentification by oneself. And this is the trouble of the modern world. It's a world of useless conversation. Yes. And another thing that's useless is the unauthorized biography that was written by our guru, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, by one of our godbrothers who was not qualified to write it. By the way, everyone, just so you know, I'm reading it again. I've got the set here. I think it's 6 or 7 books. And I'm putting it in as part of my reading program in the morning. So I read Krishna book. I'm reading this unauthorized biography just to get a perspective on the whole thing again. And it's very revealing, very revealing. I'm not going to speak about it because Yaśodā is going to go to it right now. But this is not authorized. And it's apparent when you read it how it is unauthorized. And Prabhupada never wanted it. And it will mislead you if you read it. And we're doing a book. We're releasing a book as one of our projects, which is the review of the unauthorized biography of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, also known as the Līlamrita. So that's going to be coming out in the future as we move forward with our different projects. And I want to move to this section of the program where Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu can continue to read these sections that we're going to be publishing in the near future. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, could you please continue?
Well, thank you for that. We're reading from the Līlamrita Review, section number 2, page number 11 and 12. On page 11, there is description, was Śrīla Prabhupada sorrowful and morose? The pure devotee is unaffected by dualities. On page number 12, Śrīla Prabhupada explains from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, unaffected means just that, unaffected. It does not mean affected, but struggling to be unaffected. This may indeed be our position, but that is not the pure devotee's position. He does not even feel the dualities according to Shastra. Prabhupada explains in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, canto 8, chapter 11, text number 8, following the advice of Krishna, Bhagavad Gita 2:14, one should not be morose or unhappy because of circumstantial changes. This is the symptom of a devotee. A devotee carries out his duty in Krishna consciousness and is never unhappy in awkward circumstances. Śrīla Prabhupada further explains in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, canto 6, chapter 17, text 29, those who are not Narayana Para, pure devotees, must be disturbed by this duality of the material world, whereas the devotees who are simply attached to the service of the Lord are not at all disturbed by it. Despite the disturbing dualities in the material world, they are not disturbed at all, because they fix their minds on the lotus feet of the Lord. They do not feel the so-called pains and pleasures caused by the dualities of this material world. Prabhupada further goes on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, canto 8, chapter 11, text number 8, for a learned person who sees how things are taking place, there is no question of being sorry or happy because of the waves of material nature. One who is fully conversant with the laws of nature is never jubilant or morose because of nature's activities. We cannot understand Śrīla Prabhupada's mood by direct sense perception. What to speak of understanding it by looking at a photograph? One disciple was once given a photograph of Śrīla Prabhupada by His Divine Grace. The disciple saw it and commented, "You look sad in this photo, Śrīla Prabhupada." Śrīla Prabhupada corrected her, answering, "No, that was a moment of ecstasy." As neophytes, we have a tendency to consider the spiritual master to the restricted vision of our own conditioning. Either consciously or unconsciously, we have a tendency to think, if I do not experience material pain and pleasures, I will not enjoy the varieties of life. Therefore, if the spiritual master doesn't feel these varieties also, then he must be similarly situated in the void. Therefore, he must also be feeling the material world. Prabhupada explains in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 29, that the pure devotee is like the ocean, material happiness and distresses are like the rivers, and Krishna is like the moon. So many rivers may enter the ocean, but the ocean remains calm and steady. However, when the moon rises in the sky, no one can check the ocean tide. Similarly, so many material happinesses and distresses may try to disturb the pure devotee, but he always remains undisturbed, calm, and steady. However, when the moon of Krishna rises in the pure devotee's heart, he becomes like a madman full of transcendental emotions. Was Śrīla Prabhupada embarrassed? Webster's dictionary defines embarrassing as to cause or experience a state of self-conscious distress and influence which impedes thought, speech, and action. To the contrary, the Shastra states, the deliberated soul is never embarrassed by any material condition. Embarrassment is the plight of the conditioned soul. Prabhupada explains in Madhya Lila, chapter 18, text 114, the conditioned soul, however, is always covered by ignorance and embarrassed by the threefold miseries of life. Thus, he is a treasure house of all kinds of tribulations. Thank you very much. Back to you in the studio. Hare Krishna.
It's very interesting to note, thank you as well, that people that were around Śrīla Prabhupada were in a very difficult situation to maintain their Krishna consciousness, because the Vapu association of the pure devotee can lead to contempt. Familiarity breeds contempt. I'm hearing it lately. A lot of people are using that quote. But the fact of the matter is, the more you associate with somebody, you look at them like they're just ordinary people. And especially, therefore, Prabhupada never encouraged that, really always. He always encouraged us to serve him in separation. Everybody was, pretty much. And in this way, they could avoid offenses against Śrīla Prabhupada and others. I know in relationships, marriages a lot, what happens is they become familiar, the husband and wife, and then eventually the wife has contempt for the husband. Look at, you're useless. Look at you. Look at you. Look at how you use the bathroom. You're dirty. Look at how you carry on. Look at the way you eat. Some people, they get to the point where they don't like the way the person chews. Look at the way you're chewing your food. Is that love or contempt? It's contempt. They hate your guts. That goes on. And that's why most marriages fail, because of contempt. So we have to remember that this is part of material conditioning. And this is also part of the spiritual process of devotional service, where we serve the spiritual master by his instructions. You know, Prabhupada had servants. Okay. And what did they do? Well, they would carry his luggage. They would cook his food. They would cut the vegetables. They would clean his laundry. They would do that. But at some time, they might think, oh, Prabhupada's this or that. And this is what was the end of their spiritual life. Because you commit offenses, it'll destroy your bija, your bhakti lata bija. Where it's the plant of devotion is done through watering, by devotional activities, not by fault finding and criticism. So it's very important how we conduct ourselves, not only outside, but inside, internally with our group. Everybody always try to remain in a Krishna conscious outlook in terms of spiritual life. Yes. Prabhupada said, I'm going to finish up and go to our panel. He was talking in New Vrindavan to a lecture, and he talked about the word Prabhu. He says, oh, you must respect your godbrothers. And he referred to Keith Ham. Oh, and everybody, because he is my disciple, he's Prabhu. So give respect to the disciple, unless he disqualifies himself. It's not automatic. It has to be done with the use of discrimination and intelligence. Yeah, you have to see. But the principle is there. The principle, when you say the word Prabhu, you mean it. It means master. Yes, Prabhu. And then you act accordingly as a humble servant. Tranadapi Sunichena, a humble servant of Lord Chaitanya and the spiritual masters in our disciplic succession. Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas. Oh yeah, where the Gurukula was. Haribo.
Okay. Hare Krishna, thank you. Yeah. Recently there was a kind of a podcast interview, and devotee was speaking that Prabhupada, being fully Krishna conscious, he knows everything. And he always spoke up about something very strongly if something was wrong or incorrect or needed to be corrected. And I was just asking if the devotee, you could comment upon this, because a lot of times we find that the verses, it's not possible to understand the mind of a Mahabhagavat pure devotee. But he was giving this kind of explanation that Prabhupada should know everything, and he would always speak up very strongly if something was not correct. So I was just thinking about this point. How
I do want to comment on that. I'm sorry, I'm going to, but the fact of the matter is that you have to have the capacity to understand the pure devotee in a transcendental way. It's a capacity. And some people don't have a capacity for that, Dharma Bhavana, where they don't know how to filter information properly. They don't have common sense. And this is unfortunate. They're more fanatical. So fanaticism is not good. And the most important thing that you can do is try to associate with other God brothers, like all of us, and ask their opinion. You know, Istagosti system. When we used to practice Istagosti in Toronto, when I was the president of the temple there, Prabhupada had given us an indication. I don't have where the quote is, but if you have 5 God brothers or God sisters together and they formulate an understanding of an issue, and then they give the decision, you should follow it. It's Krishna speaking, 5 people. So like taking information from other God brothers, asking questions, and it can be a small panel if it's necessary, and we go over it. Then we can get a clear understanding of how we should perceive the activities of the pure devotee and how to filter them properly and not be misled. Because it's hard. You don't have the capacity. You could, for whatever reason, like some people think, oh, everybody's equal. No, not everybody is not equal. We're equal spiritually, yes. But we all don't have the same amount of money. We're not all rich. Some of us are poor. We're not all beautiful. Some people are, some people aren't. There are different opulences that we're given. There is a distinction. We all don't have the same power of memory, like Yaśodā-nandana. Isn't he amazing, Mother Chisha? He remembers things about Prabhupada and Prabhupada pastimes, which are a treasure for all of us to be a part of, because we're getting information directly from someone that was there in India with Prabhupada and engaged in spiritual activities, serving him and not being offensive, but being humble and submissive, and now able to convey that information to us. We're very valuable opportunity to hear about how to understand our relationship with Prabhupada. So if people have a confusion, all you have to do is just call us up and we'll try to source out the information to remove the confusion that you might have when you hear all these things about Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada won. Opinion, the International Society for Opinion. How to get around that and get to the proper understanding of what the real mission is that we're undertaking here in 2025. Yaśodā-nandana, if you could further explain.
Well, there's a lot of different angles to this.
Yes.
And when it says the spiritual master knows everything, there was a conversation in the Prabhupada conversation book where this issue was brought up. And Prabhupada explains that this is in relationship to Krishna, in relationship to his relationship with Krishna and the teachings of Krishna. Yet he knows everything, how to guide the disciple to the perfection of spiritual life. Because there's many different angles. I mean, there is a place in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Prabhupada, the spiritual master, is also according to his realization of Krishna, according to his understanding of the science of Krishna, his knowledge of the science of Krishna. It's not that it's all one like Mayavadis. There's different levels, just like there's different levels of devotees, different levels of surrender, different levels of service, different levels of realization. And it takes a little bit of introspection and study, proper study of Prabhupada's teaching and Prabhupada's books to understand these topics. I mean, because Prabhupada sometimes makes general statements. And many times you will have specific statements, very specific statements on a specific topic. Just like one time when I was in Canada, a devotee wanted to engage in a debate with me. I says, I don't mind debating with you, but what is your experience on these topics? And I told him, says, do you realize that in Prabhupada's books, there's over Prabhupada teachings, there's over 5,200 statements about spiritual master or guru. I said, have you studied all this? Are you familiar with all this? So it's one thing to say, oh, I want the understanding right now, right away. Well, there's a process to understand. It's just like, let me give you an example. Whenever devotees went to Śrīla Prabhupāda and asked him about this issue of Swarup Siddhi, or the relationship with Krishna, or these intimate pastimes with Krishna, or what is these very, very, very special topics, intimate topics of one's relationship with Krishna. Prabhupada's answer many times says, first understand you're not the body. First become liberated. First follow the process, and then when you're liberated, it will be revealed to you. Now, I'm quite aware that there's people, especially in Radhakund or Vrindavan, many so-called Rasika specialists or special, they'll claim that they'll reveal to you your relationship with Krishna and teach you the intimate pastimes with Radha Krishna. But that was not Prabhupada's approach. Whatever they preach, whatever it may be, Prabhupada's approach was very simple. Follow the fundamental basic process, chant the prescribed recommended number of rounds, carefully read the books, offer all your food stuff to Krishna, follow the system. It's just like if you want to become a doctor, a physician, there's a process of how to become a physician. You can't just say, I'm going to read the book and that's it. I'm going to be a doctor. No, it doesn't work that way. You don't become a dentist just by studying the book on dental surgery. It doesn't work that way. You have to get the proper, go to the class, listen to the professor, pass the examination, then you have to get admitted. Then you have to practice sometime, become experienced. Then you can perform surgery. There's a system. Same thing in spiritual life. Prabhupada gave us a very systematic, proper way of understanding. Of course, by the mercy of a pure devotee, by his kindness, One can make wonderful spiritual advancements, spiritual inspiration and everything. But the recommendation is, in general, is to follow the proper process. Hare Krishna.
Oh, let me read this to you, Yaśodā. I want to get your answer here from Rikesh iPhone. This is a good question, but now some are using this to say that Śrīla Prabhupada is only correct if he's talking about Shastra, but not about science, sociology, race, gender, etc. How do we understand that? Go ahead, please. Yaśodā. Nanda. Microphone.
I got it.
Click that. Got it.
So this has come from certain educated or certain devotees who have acquired some titles from mundane institutions, who've come up with this idea that Prabhupada was correct about Shastra or spiritual teachings or scriptures, but when it comes to sociology or family or race or modern issues like cosmology or going to the moon, he was not an authority. As a matter of fact, one of these devotees basically made a statement that Prabhupada exceeded his authority in the matter of these various subjects. A little offensive in my view, but the point is we have to understand what is a pure devotee before we can discuss whether or not Prabhupada was correct about this, correct about that. When Prabhupada started to preach in America, he preached in a certain way according to time, place, and circumstances. When you read Prabhupada's books, there's a lot of different statements that do not fit with the modern woke world or the modern academic or scientific thinking of modern ways. But Prabhupada is repeating what is in the Bhagavatam. He is preaching Vedic culture, Vedic teachings. Now, in order to understand, because we have to understand that people are conditioned by their education, by their family environment, by their birth in a certain country, in a certain family, in a certain society, in a certain educational system. When they look at Krishna consciousness and the teachings of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and the Vedic teaching according to Vaishnava philosophy, it's like there is a disparity. It's different. It doesn't follow the modern way of thinking. For example, the role of women. In Vedic society, there's a certain role for women. But in modern society, they take it that, liberalism, women liberation, feminism, and all these things, this is the new way to go. Everybody is equal. Prabhupada had a very interesting comment one time when some reporter asked him that, women are equal to men. He says, okay, so what you do, 1 year you can become pregnant, next year let your husband become pregnant. So they know it's not possible. So in other words, Vedic system has a certain way from time immemorial to prescribe, to give recommendations for human beings to live peacefully, happily, according to Vedic principles. Modern society is very different. Everything goes. But this is not the Vedic system. So when Prabhupada presents this, people who have been indoctrinated and many times victimized by Western propaganda, by this woke philosophy, with so many nonsensical ideas, they think, oh, it doesn't fit into what I've heard from such and such environment. So we follow the Vedic system, the transcendental teachings of the Vedas, according to the Acharyas. That's why some of these things are really not acceptable according to the Vedic system. And it's not just about the role of women, it's about many things. It's like, for example, this issue of going to the moon. It was well known in the late 60s that Śrīla Prabhupada said that you cannot go to the moon. And people say, well, we have pictures, we have whatever you have. Prabhupada said it's not possible. And one of the reasons is you say you have been there, why don't you live there? You claim you've gone there, why don't you live there? One time Prabhupada explained, the moon is a luminous planet. Why is it you brought some dark rocks? According to the Vedas, you have to have a specific body to live in a specific planet. But if you claim you have been there, go build a house there. But it's also been proven by so many people that they have not been there. But according to Prabhupada's explanation, says according to the Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, a human being cannot force his way into another planet by mechanical arrangement. Ravana tried that. It didn't work. But people will decry or criticize Prabhupada, some modern educated people, or he doesn't accept our modern scientific whatever. So we follow the Vedic system, we follow the Acharyas. That is the point. As far as these race issues, that's something else. The Bhagavatam describes in the 4th canto the origin of the black race. Now people think, oh, these are all mythology. This is all fiction. Well, it's not fiction. It's a fact, but you haven't realized it yet because you have not properly heard from a self-realized Acharya. I mean, it's not that Prabhupada was wrong. It's just that people are not sufficiently educated into the Vedic system according to the teachings of the Acharya. Simple as that. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note, you brought that up, that he had a deep understanding of all these subject matters because of his position as the via transparent media for Krishna. And it's simply to help us understand we're not the body, but the servant of the Supreme Lord, irrespective of bodily designation. That is not an issue. Everyone is equal spiritually, and everyone has an equal opportunity, irrespective of their birth or their upbringing. It's just a matter of their circumstance. And I wanted to read something just quickly before we go ahead. Of insight here that I got from the reading of the killing of the Aghasura demon this morning. And it really struck me how Prabhupada really understood the relationship between parents and their children. Very profound. And he says like this, generally for the householders, the children are the life and breath force. Is that true? Oh, yes, it is. Believe me. When we all deal with family matters, we can see, especially the mother, will sacrifice everything for the child. Absolutely. They will not hesitate to sacrifice their life for their son or daughter. When all the children die, Prabhupada says, then naturally the parents also die on account of strong affection for them. Very deep understanding of the relationship between mother, father, and children. This is psychology at the highest level. It's true. It is absolutely true. And I have personal experience of that, and I think many of you do. So Prabhupada had insight which is beyond the ordinary conditioned soul or these mundane philosophers and religionists and other people that so-called claim that they're authority. Yeah, sure. Okay, we're going to wind up. I see one of our friends came on, Nilash. Do you have a question about the class today, please?
Hare Krishna, Jai Śrīla Prabhupāda. Very interesting points which are made here, especially the question which was there. I'd like to make 3 points. The question which was posed, remember the Vedas are meant for the conditioned soul and the conditions associated with the conditioning in this material world. Prabhupada had a very simple statement for us always. Simple living and high thinking, And we know what this woke culture is going around in, especially in America today, where people are calling themselves different pronouns, They don't call themselves he or she, they call themselves they. They want to identify with themselves as something else. And look at the confusion which has come about. So much confusion that even the politicians are refraining from defining what a woman is and what is a man. Look at what is happening with women's sports and genders who are allowed to participate in women's sports. But, it is interesting that a man who identifies himself as a woman is allowed to participate in a women's sport. But why not the other way around? Nobody talks about that. Why not a woman come and participate in a man's sport? Because you know that equation is never going to work. So all this confusion is just draining our main purpose, which is to identify ourselves that we are not this body, but we are spirit souls, and to surrender to Krishna. If we were to even go to a very nice restaurant, if we were to go to a Michelin 3-star restaurant, suppose, what is the key part which makes these restaurants so wonderful? If you look at this whole concept of farm to table, there's a whole process of it, that most of the Michelin star chefs now they realize that in order to give good quality food, they need to have good ingredients, and many of them grow their own ingredients. They have their own backyard places where they grow. What did Prabhupada tell us? Grow your own food. Try to do your own stuff. Now we are flooded with hydroponically grown vegetables, which do not taste as good, which do not have the nutrition as much as possible. And so this whole Maha movement, which has started making America healthy again, all these whole processes are because we have deviated ourselves from the Vedic understanding. So Prabhupada knew all these very clearly and gave us the basics. We deviated more, and look where we are. And now we are making a circle back towards it. I remember very clearly is that in the good old days, when we would go and buy strawberries, the organic strawberries were always small and very tasty, but the hydroponically grown strawberries were bigger. And we say like, oh, look at how big it looks. Look how red they look. But when you taste them, they're not the same. And now what do? We go to whole food stores. We go to stores which are growing organic content, and the very content which we used to consume first, we spend more money on hydroponically grown foods because they were bigger but not tastier. And now we are spending more money to go backwards to the same organically grown, normally grown foodstuffs. So if you look at the whole circle which we have gone through, we are back to where Prabhupada recommends us. And that is the whole basis of this part, And so you can see this in every aspect. So whenever Prabhupada is telling us these things, and if we stick to it, it may look that we are not following the modern trends, but the modern trend will come back to the same part. How many women are now talking openly on social media that they want to be a secondary portion? They want to play the homemaker role. They want to be the one who can be at home and raise children. And this minimalistic life is now coming back. You can see that a lot of people in Japan are adopting to this minimalistic life. What is that? It is simple thinking and high living. So these whole aspects will navigate itself back to the original position, And talking about the other point which was there is the tongue, is that what is our prayer? I'd like to share that prayer which we all sing, in our prayers, Sharira Vidya Jal, if you remember this, you see. So we talk about this. Sharira Vidya Jal, Jodendriya Tahekal, Jive Fele Vishaya Sagare, Tara Madhe Jivati, Lobhamay Sudurmati, Take Jeta Katina Samsare. If you were to analyze this prayer, Sharir means body, Avidya. Vidya means knowledge, avidya means ignorance, lack of knowledge. This is the jal. Jal means network. It's a network of ignorance, of which Jodendriya, all the indriyas, the sense organs are like tahekal. They are like big serpents, They are like big serpents, tahekal. Jiva. This is us. Jiva Fele Vishaya Sagare. We are immersed in this ocean of ignorance. Vishaya Sagare. And of which Tara Madhe Jivati, of which the tongue is the worst. Jivati. Lobhamaya Sudurmati. Lobha. It is always after greed. It is Sudurmati. The Mati is very Sudur. It is lack of any intelligence. This is how this whole world is. So how can we get rid of these problems? Krishna Baro Dayamay. He is so merciful. How do we get this mercy? Through the proper bona fide spiritual master. Praptasya Kalyana Gunarna Vashya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam. So if we get the mercy of Krishna, we have to go through the proper disciplic succession. So if we surrender to somebody who is not authorized to be Diksha Guru, how can we get this mercy? So Krishna baro dayamay, kori bare jiva joy. Swa prasade anno dilo bhai. He's given his remnants. How did those food stuff become remnants? If we offer it to Śrīla Prabhupada takes it to his Guru Maharaj takes it to his Guru Maharaj in the parampara system, and it goes to Krishna as it gets purified, because we are impure. We don't even know how to offer bhoga. We don't even know how to offer foodstuffs. So Prabhupada takes care of all those impurities and takes it in the parampara system to Krishna. So say Annamrita power, this Anna Amrita, this nectar which we have got from Krishna is what? Is because of this proper lineage. Radha Krishna Gunagao, Preme Dhako Chaitanya. So this translation has to be understood very properly, very correctly. And the last part is, how can we say that Prabhupada was ever in a illusion or in a what was that word which was used? You know, how can we say that? Because both the fake gurus and us, we claim that Prabhupada was the pure devotee of the Lord. And if he's the pure devotee, means he's on the Brahma Bhuta platform. So if he's on the Brahma Bhuta platform, he is what? Na sochati na kangshati. He does not lament for anything, nor does he desire for anything which is material. Then how can he be sorrowful? So if we were to understand these in details, then we can see the hypocrisy associated with the Lila Amrita. I would love to know what Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu has to say.
We're going to end the program. We're going to end the program, Prabhu. It's 11:54. You know, we started at 10, and it's almost 12 noon. So we're going to end the program. Thank you very much. And we want to invite everybody to come again next Wednesday night for Chaitanya Charitamrita reading and discussion. And we look forward to that. And we're going to move forward with the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. So please, let's chant along, and we'll do the final sections of our program. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
I don't think Yaśodā-nandana. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhayevacha patitanam pavenibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Thank you, everyone, globally, for attending the program, and we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday night, and carry on with your sadhana. Enjoy your opportunity to surrender and serve the mission of Lord Chaitanya and Śrīla Prabhupāda. Let's go with the final section, which is the chanting with the devotees from Jamaica of the Hare Krishna mantra. And see if you can chant along with the fast japa chanting that we do. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama